South Korea's military says the Democratic People's Republic of Korea has fired a short-range ballistic missile from its east coast. It was believed to be a Scud-class ballistic missile and flew about 450 kilometers before landing in the waters of Japan's exclusive economic zone. South Korean military also said analysis was still ongoing as more than one missile might have been fired. A week ago, the DPRK test-fired a ballistic missile, and on Sunday, the country said it tested a new anti-aircraft weapon. Earlier, I spoke to our correspondent, Jack Barton, in Seoul. He told us how the DPRK's neighbors are reacting to this latest missile launch.
Rachel, here in Seoul, there's been swift condemnation of the latest missile test by the DPRK, with President Moon Jae-in, who came to office just a few weeks ago, promising to try stabilize relations on the Korean Peninsula, instead calling yet another emergency National Security Council meeting. We can hear a little bit now about what one official from the Defense Department had to say.
The firing of the unidentified ballistic missile this time is seen as revealing the DPRK's willingness to build its capacity in nuclear and missiles through its own roadmap on the brink of sanctions and the pressure of the international community, and as aiming to oppress South Korea's strategic shift towards the DPRK.
Also, a condemnation from Japan. Officials there saying that this doesn't just breach the United Nations Security Council rules, but also that it's just a danger, of course, to aviation and shipping in the area. There's a lot of commercial planes, there's a lot of ships in those waters. Japan claiming it fell between two of its islands within its exclusive economic area.
To the Korean Peninsula now, and the DPRK has confirmed another missile test. The official Korean Central News Agency, KCNA, said on Tuesday that the nation launched a medium-range rocket from a mobile pad vehicle on Monday using what it calls a precision-control guidance system. KCNA says DPRK leader Kim Jong-un guided the test firing. A new Caterpillar pad vehicle carrying the missile was also tested this time after joining in a military parade last month for the first time. South Korea and U.S. media reports say the missile was a Scud missile capable of hitting targets 500 kilometers away, and that it fell into the Sea of Japan after flying for 6 minutes. Our correspondent Jack Barton reports from Seoul.
South Koreans headed to work on Monday to the news that Pyongyang had test-fired its 9th ballistic missile this year, defying international pressure and the threat of tougher sanctions. In Seoul, the launch was seen as another rebuff to President Moon Jae-in's attempts to halt missile tests through dialogue.
The unidentified ballistic missile firing this time seems as revealing the DPRK's willingness to build capacity in nuclear and missiles through its own roadmap, in the face of sanctions and pressure of the international community, and is aiming to oppress the ROK's strategic shift towards the DPRK.
Monday's test marked the third launch since President Moon took office earlier this month, pledging to try ease tensions on the Korean Peninsula through talks arguing that sanctions alone had failed. But some analysts remain skeptical about South Korea's new sunshine policy.
They wanted to keep their system and the political regime, so they don't want to give up their nuclear program. Not because of South Koreans' aid toward North Korea.
The launch also drew fire from Japan.
We will never tolerate the DPRK's continued provocations that ignore repeated warnings by the international community.
The latest missile test is just one of many since Kim Jong-un came to power. Since the start of last year, he has overseen more missile tests than his father and grandfather put together.
Monday's test followed just days after what the DPRK called the launch of a surface-to-air missile, and a little more than a week after a medium-range missile was successfully tested. Jack Barton, CGTN, Seoul.
Also on Monday, South Korea conducted a joint drill involving a U.S. supersonic B-1B Lancer bomber. This was confirmed on Tuesday by Moon Sang-gun, a spokesman for the South Korean Defense Ministry. Moon said the exercise took place on Monday but gave no further details. According to DPRK's KCNA news agency, the bombers were joined by warplanes from the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier operating in the region. The DPRK expressed dissatisfaction to the deployment of a strategic U.S. military asset near the peninsula. Nicknamed the Bone, the B-1B Lancer is a long-range multi-mission bomber capable of flying intercontinental missions without refueling. The supersonic aircraft can reach the peninsula in 2.5 hours from a U.S. Air Force base in Guam. Coming at a time of heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula, the U.S. Defense Ministry says it is planning a missile defense test on Tuesday that will, for the first time, target an intercontinental range missile. Officials said the interceptor will be launched from an underground silo at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. It will try to hit a target fired from a test range on the Kwangjen Atoll in the Pacific. The American interceptor has a spotty track record, succeeding in 9 of 17 attempts against missiles of less than intercontinental range since 1999. There are currently 36 interceptors housed in Alaska and California. 8 more will be added this year. The trial of 2 foreign women accused of murdering Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother of DPRK's leader Kim Jong-un, has been transferred to a high court from a magistrate court in Malaysia. However, a date has not been set for when the case will be heard in the higher court. Earlier, the defense's lawyer complained that he has yet to receive all the documents requested from the prosecution and police. The 2 suspects, Indonesian Siti Aisyah and Don Chi Won from Vietnam, face the death penalty if found guilty of the murder. They are accused of smearing Kim's face with the lethal VX agent. Seen outside court Tuesday, both women wore bulletproof vests and were whisked away in police convoys after the hearing, which was their 3rd court appearance.